Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. It looks like everyone is here, so we're going to get the presentation started. This is going to be for fiscal year 23. Yes. And just for future reference, all of our contact information is there. There's Yukashi and Anissa and my email address and phone numbers. You can jot that down if you have any other questions for after the presentation today. My name is Andrew. I am the division secretary. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out. On today's agenda, we're going to do housekeeping, solicitation information, proposal submission procedures. We're going to talk about Hawaii Compliance Express, insurance. We're going to do a quick overview on the specialty crop RFP. We're going to talk about the forms, the application, and we have a to-do list for you guys at the end of the presentation today. So should you be awarded, I'm the person that will be assembling your contracts and routing them for review and signature. So I will be explaining this part of the presentation. This is the solicitation information. To apply for a grant, you will need to visit the Hawaii Awards and Notices Data System, also known as HANS. Every notice or solicitation for the state of Hawaii will be on this website. So if you go to the website and you type in agriculture or specialty crop block grant program, the solicitation will be up there for you to learn more information and download important materials for the grant. All proposal submissions must be sent to HDOA.addrfp@hawaii.gov. Submission to other email addresses will not be accepted or opened. So you need to submit your submissions to that email. If it's submitted to me or Yukashi or Nissa, it will not count towards your proposal submission. So you need to make sure that all correspondence go to that one. Submissions received after the due date and time will not be accepted or opened as well. And the official time clock that we're going to be using is on our end. So it needs to be by the deadline as indicated on our time clock over here. All contractors will need to be compliant on Hawaii Compliance Express. And you can apply for compliance using that link right there to Hawaii Compliance Express. Applicants need to be compliant at the time of award, which means if you look on the slide, it says Hawaii Department of Taxation compliant, IRS compliant, Department of Consumer and Commerce and Consumer Affairs would be exempt, and Hawaii Department of Labor and Industrial Relations would be compliant. It is important that contractors maintain a compliant status throughout the entirety of their contract, because compliant status is needed at time of award, first payment, and final payment. It does get a little tricky sometimes when tax season comes around and people lose the compliance, but it's really important that you be cognizant of your status. Always make sure to look it up on the website and fix any discrepancies that may be there. Okay, another important requirement to have is that contractors must have proper insurance coverages. The state of Hawaii requires contractors to procure and maintain insurance coverages throughout the term of the contract. So that includes automobile liability, 1 million for bodily injury for each person, 1 million bodily injury for each accident, 1 million for property damage for each accident as well. If your insurance provider has any questions about the type of insurance coverage, we do have a special conditions pages that explain the insurance further detail. So once you are awarded a contract, we'll give that to you and then you can forward that to your insurance provider. All right. So now we're going to be talking about the overview of Specialty Crop Block Grant Program Fiscal Year 23 RFP from Yukashi.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, everybody. I'm Yukashi Smith, Economic Development Specialist. Okay, I'll give you the overview of Specialty Crop Block Grant Program Fiscal Year 23 RFP. First of all, the purpose of this grant is to enhance the competitiveness of specialty crops. And what are the specialty crops? The definition of specialty crop is on the RFP, page 5. So I hope you already downloaded all the forms and the RFP. This is the very important guidelines for you to fill out the application. So please look at page 5. There is a detailed definition about the specialty crops. They define as fruits and vegetables, tree nuts, dried fruits, horticulture, and nursery crops, including floriculture. Eligible plants must be cultivated or managed and used by people for food, medicinal purposes, and or aesthetic gratification to be considered specialty crops. Processed products shall consist of greater than 50% of the specialty crop by weight, exclusive of added water. So if you would like to see more details, there's a website listed in our RFP as well. So please make sure your application is going to be dealing with specialty crops, not other crops. And also there's a list of eligible specialty crops listed on this RFP, page 35. So if you are looking at this list, maybe you can look at the list of ineligible commodities. Those are like a barley, rice, cotton, sugar, or fish and livestock. Those are not eligible. But most of the fruits and vegetables you grow in Hawaii will be eligible to the specialty crops. If you have any questions about the eligibility, you can just email us. And also you can look at the page 6. This is eligible entities. So who can apply for this grant? If you are nonprofit organizations, local, state, and federal government entities, for-profit organizations, universities, and individuals for projects that enhance the competitiveness of Hawaii specialty crops. So if you are those entities, you are eligible. And then to be eligible to participate, applicants must reside in, or their businesses or educational affiliation must be registered in Hawaii. Because this is a block grant program, Hawaii got awarded $500,000 this year, but other states have different amount they awarded. So you must have to reside in Hawaii to apply for the Hawaii specialty crop grant program. Okay, we have new application template this year. So this year, USDA gave us the new profile template, and you must use this application. We are going to go over how to fill out this application. Anis and I will be doing after, but please use this one, or you must use this one. And this is a not Word format. This is a new thing. It's a PDF file, fillable PDF. So to fill out this form, you have to have Acrobat Reader. Doesn't have to be Pro. I think that the Pro is, I think you have to purchase like annual fee, but the Acrobat Reader is free to download. So we'll go over this one later. And the good news for you guys is like we increased the award amount. The maximum award amount used to be $40,000 per project, but this year we increased the max amount to up to $50,000 per project. So the range is $10,000 to $50,000. And performance measures is important. We're going to explain that with the application form, but you can also look at the RFP page 27. And this is also, you have to follow those performance measures, and you cannot change any word. You must pick up choose the performance measures from this page. And lastly, the transition to unique entity ID. So although anybody who apply for this grant, you have to have unique entity ID. It's called SAM. This is going to be first thing you have to do on the page 3. So there's a website you have to go to. So now Anissa is going to talk about the forms.
Thank you, Yukashi. Hi, everybody. My name is Anissa. I'm an economic development specialist. So these forms and all the reading material, like the RFP, can be viewed or downloaded off of the SPO website under the Solicitation General Information tab. It's going to be best for you to go ahead and download all those forms and save it to your computer. That way you can always access it easily. You won't have to keep going back to the SPO website. You can go ahead and just save it as a file on your computer. And before you begin to fill out Exhibit A, Exhibit C, and the project profile template, you're going to want to read the RFP. Like Yukashi already said, it's very, very important to read the RFP. It'll be your best friend and explain everything you'll need to know to successfully complete and submit your proposal. So you must submit the project template. This is going to be your actual main application. You must also submit Exhibit A. This is going to be your contact information. So whatever contact information you put on this page will be the main form of contact that we'll use to contact you. So you want to make sure your email is one that you regularly use and you're going to be looking at more often because you don't want to miss any communication from us. Also, be sure that you have a phone number that is usable and we can contact you at without having to call around a bunch of numbers. We want to make sure it's the right email and phone number. So be sure to include that on your Exhibit A, which is mandatory. And you'll also have to fill out Exhibit C. This is the endorsement statement. This statement basically says that you acknowledge your responsibility toward the proposal and your project. So you will have to sign this. It could be e-signed or handwritten, but it is mandatory to submit with your proposal. These forms, the Exhibit A, Exhibit C, and the project profile template or your proposal application, those 3 forms are mandatory. And if you don't fill out either of these forms, then your proposal will not be eligible for review. So if you're missing Exhibit C, we're not going to review your proposal. If you're missing Exhibit A, same thing. All 3 forms need to be filled out and submitted by March 3rd. It is mandatory in order for us to review. And also off of the solicitation page, you will see the annual and final report templates. You're not going to need this for your proposal, but it's good to take a look ahead of time for future reference so you could read through the kinds of things that you will need to report on after award. So you could take a look at that. And also you'll see the performance measures, which Yukashi previously mentioned. These will be used to describe your outcomes and indicators, which we'll go into further detail as we walk you through the proposal. So again, you can download all these forms online, save them, and fill them out, and they will be due by March 3rd. So now I'm going to pull up the application. Okay, so this is the application. It looks like this. It is PDF form fillable, like Yukashi said. And when you first start filling it out, after you read the RFP, you're going to have to fill out your organization name, project contact name, a mailing address, phone number, and email. Yes, this is the second time you're filling it out because you'll also have to do it on Exhibit A, but you still have to do Exhibit A even though you fill out this information. And moving on, you'll have to include a project title. This title will tell us what the project is about, and you should try to keep it to at least 15 words or less. It shouldn't be too lengthy, but this is how USADA will identify your project. And the duration of the project should be less than 2 years and completed by March 2026. So these dates, it's not fully set. They are flexible and negotiable, but it must be done, your project, within 24 months or by March 2026. So you can keep that in mind. Project partner and summary. So if you're working with a partner, you can list them here. You can also describe what they'll be doing. Partners should also have a letter of support that you should include with your proposal. And that's so that they can also support your project and confirm their commitment. So you just have to describe who it is, what they're going to be doing in this section. And moving on to the purpose. So this is probably the most important part of your proposal. You're going to want to explain what your project is, the general purpose, the goals, the needs that the project will address. And we will pay the most attention to this section. So make sure you take your time and really fill this out, explain in great detail exactly what the purpose of your project will be. And this is because we're going to use this project purpose and make sure that it aligns with all of your objectives, your outcomes and indicators. They all should align with the main purpose of your project. So definitely take your time here, fill it out, cover all your bases, because that's what we will score the most for your project. Moving on is a section you can list your objectives. So from your purpose, you're going to have objectives that you want to reach. And we recommend no more than 3 because each objective needs to have outcomes and indicators that are associated with the objective. So you could definitely have 4 or 5 if you want, but it's going to be a lot easier for you to manage if you do keep it down to 3 or less. Each objective should enhance competitiveness of specialty crops. So you're going to fill out your objectives here, and then you'll move on to project beneficiaries. So this should be a specific number. It can't be all of Hawaii or the population of Hawaii. It should be, if it's something related to your project, a specific number, like 50 farmers, 200 members, 80 beekeepers, something very specific, not the entire population of Hawaii. And then you'll want to put the number of people who will directly benefit from the project under project beneficiaries. And does your project directly benefit undeserved farmers? Yes or no? And does it directly benefit beginning farmers? Yes or no? You'll also see, I believe there's definitions in the RFP for those. So you'll just want to check yes or no in that section. And the statement of enhancing specialty crops. This is where you're confirming that your project does enhance the competitiveness of specialty crops. You will have to check this box and we won't check it for you. We won't send it back to you to check. So be sure you check this box. And the next section, basically, USDA just wants to know, is this project a continuation of a previous project? And how was it different? What is a summary of the project? What did you do? And it doesn't change anything with your proposal. They're basically just curious and want to know. So you'll just have to describe that project there if it is a continuation. If not, you can go ahead and leave this blank. And they'll also want to know what kind of lessons you learned from this previous project. So if applicable, what were the lessons learned and what kind of improvements can be made? They just want to know, basically, do you have an idea of that previous project and how could you improve upon it? And this next section, describe the likelihood of the project becoming self-sustaining and not indefinitely dependent on grant funds. So they just want to know, is there a way for your project to take care of itself in the future without having to rely on grant funds? So if they're needed, you could just describe it here. If there is a way for the project to take on its funding on its own, you can describe that here. They're just curious if you do have that in mind, but you will have to fill out that section. This next part, USDA just wants to know if you're using other kinds of grants to fund this project. So you just put yes or no. If not, you can leave the next section blank. But if you are using other kinds of funds, state or federal, you will have to identify them and describe how it's different from this, how that project is different. But USDA is requesting that. So if yes, go ahead and fill out that section. If no, you can leave it blank. And the next part is external project support. So who else out there supports your project, but isn't actually just a part of the project? So if they're not actually going to be performing the project, but they support it, you're going to want to describe who they are. Are they farmers? Are they an agency? And also, how do they support your project? You could also describe why they support your project, but you basically want to just describe them here. And if there is external project support, it's also best if you have them submit a letter of support as well. And moving on to expected measurable outcomes, Yukashi will go into further detail.
Thank you, Anissa. Okay, we are going to go to the expected measurable outcomes. So when you stated your objective, so as Anissa said, we recommend to limit less than three objectives. But each objective, you have to have outcomes. So each objective should have outcome, and then each outcome should have indicator. So if you choose outcome number one, increasing consumption and consumer purchasing of specialty crops, then you go to RFP, page 27, that's Appendix C, outcomes, measures, and associated indicators. If you go to that page 28, under outcome one, increasing consumption and consumer purchasing of specialty crops, there are 5 indicators. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.5. So you have to choose either one or two. At least one indicator you have to choose. If you choose total number of consumers who gain knowledge about specialty crops, you put the number that. So you put the outcome 1, and then indicator you put 1.1, and indicator description has to be that it's like an example. Yes, total number of consumers who gain knowledge about specialty crops, adults, and then the value, that's the number. 132 people. So that the value has to be quantifiable outcome. And that's what the score, the evaluator is going to look at very, very closely. So if the value is only 2, or the other application said like 200. So of course, 200 gets more score than 2. Like that. And you can do adults and children, either one or both. So, and if you have another objective number 2, you have to have another outcome aligned with that objective. So if you choose outcome 3, so it's going to go to the RFP page 29. So outcome 3, increase food safety knowledge and processes. So under outcome number 3, there are 3.1, 3.2, 3.3.4. And if you choose outcome indicator 3.4, number of prevention, detection, control, or intervention practices developed or enhanced to mitigate food safety risks. So you have to put that description here and the value, the number. So that's how you have to do it. So therefore, maybe if you have 3 objectives, you have to pick 3 outcomes and at least 3 indicators. Okay, so miscellaneous outcome measure. If you want to add additional or something that apply to the indicators above, I think it has to be additional. You can't just choose this column to describe your outcome. If you have something additional, you can write here. And the next one is data collection to report on outcomes and indicators. So data collection method, what kind of method are you going to use? This is very important because you can't just say any number. So you have to justify how you're going to collect the data. So survey is very popular. People want to do the survey. However, it's pretty weak too. If you do workshop and then like a week later, you email the attendees and then please fill out the survey, but your collection rate is maybe 20% or 30%. Instead, if you are if you hold a workshop and on site, if you do the survey on site, and I think the data can be collected more than 25%, probably maybe 70%. That kind of method you have to describe. Or if you're going to partner with the farmers market sales, then you have to get the sales data from the organizer. Budget narrative. So budget is also really important. Again, the maximum award amount is $50,000. So, and you have to itemize all your budget in this category only. So personnel, fringe benefits, travel, equipment, supplies, contractual, other, those are the direct costs. And then it's going to be the subtotal here. And indirect costs are not allowed for the applicants. So indirect cost is going to be used by HDOA. When we do administer the grant, that's our cost. So basically, you have only direct costs to fill out. So that's the budget. So the first item is personnel. Okay, the personnel are the staff that are employed by the applicant. So if it's the staff is outside of your organization, you shouldn't get put here. So that has to be the contractor. So personnel is your own employee. And you put the person's name and title, production manager, and then you put hours or how much percent of your full time and the funds requested. So we put that. And if you have more than one employee to be used to do this project, you can list all the employees here. And you have to, next page, you have to justify why you need this personnel description and justification. So you have to write for each personnel here. So next one is fringe benefits. So fringe benefits is supplemental, like a package if you hire somebody. Like some agencies just give like maybe 20%, 30%. That it depends on with your organization or agency. So it could be like a health insurance or life insurance, like a child care, those fringe benefits you can list here. Travel. So travel is allowed, either neighbor island or like a mainland travel, that's allowed. Also, international travel is allowed, but only international travel you have to get pre-approved by USDA. So, but you can list here too. So the number one, you have to say the destination from Honolulu to Hilo, and type of expense. It's going to be airfare, car rental, hotel, meals, mileage. So mileage right now for 2023 is standard mileage rate is 65.5 cents per mile. So it's every year is different, but make sure you use that standard mileage. And you need to measure, so how many days and nights and number of units and cost per unit. So we strongly suggest inter-island airfare, keep it like $200 round trip, and car rental will be $100 per day, including gas. And that shouldn't be, if you go to Maui or if you go to Hawaii, it shouldn't be different. I know there is a little bit, of course, area in reality, it could be different, but please use the standard round trip rate as like $200 for island inter-island airfare and $100 for car rental per day. It's so that it's everybody's life is so easy. So you can list all the trip, from 1 to 20 in 2 years. And I think if you need more, you can add more. There's no limit. But each travel have to be justified. So the next page, you have to explain for each trip justification. And one more thing, that if you do the mainland trip for the airfare or international trip, you have to fly on the U.S. carriers. That's Fly America Act. So you are not allowed to use Japan Airlines to go to Japan. You have to use U.S. carriers. So next one is equipment. So equipment is a little bit tricky. It's items $5,000 or higher machinery or something. But this has to be pre-approved. And then after 2 years of your contract period, it's gonna belong to the state. So we highly recommend, if you're gonna purchase more than, if you're gonna use the machine that is more than $5,000, please do the rental because it's going to be a lot of paperwork and a long process to do this. If you're going to purchase $5,000 equipment, and you have to have a really good justification to do that. So the rental is the best option for you. And of course, after this, you have another justification page to fill out. Every single item have to justify and approve it. Supplies. Those are less than $5,000 per unit items. You can list everything, and then you have to describe what kind of tool it is, and otherwise USDA is going to come back and ask, and what is the purpose and what is going to be used for. So that next page, description and justification for each supply you're going to purchase. Next one, contractual consultant. So the personnel is your own employee, but if outside of your organizations that you're going to be using, that would be contractual, and you're gonna list those people right here. So the name and organization and hourly rate or flat rate and the funds requested. And we really recommend to use flat rate instead of hourly rate. The reason is, if you put the hourly rate, you have to submit timesheet. So for 2 years. So that's going to be a lot of paperwork. Instead, you do this job, you're going to give this person like $10,000 as a flat rate. And again, you have to fill out the description and justification for every contractor, consultant in this page. Almost last. There's other items right here. So if you're gonna have meetings and conferences, if you're gonna rent a room, what communications, rental expenses, advertisements, publication costs, those are under the others. So you put each item of description, per unit cost, number of unit, acquired date, and how much fund you're gonna be requesting. Those are all others. And again, please describe and justify why you need those. So indirect cost, as I said, it's going to be used by us, HDOA, so do not fill out anything here. If you have any income during the course of this contract period, if you sell anything at the farmer's market, if you, then those program income, excuse me, should be listed here and have to be investing to the program. So you list right here. That's going to be the budget, and then that is it for your application. So application form, this PDF file is like 23 pages, but it's really hard to even change, modify, because it's a PDF file. Please do not try to modify that and use this one. Okay, in summary, I just want to say like things to do. So please read the entire RFP. Please read. So those are the answers there. And decide on the purpose of the proposed project. Determine objectives to achieve the purpose. Select the outcomes to support the objectives. Select the associated indicators to quantify or convince that the outcome has been met. Describe in detail the data collection methods that will prove the indicators were quantified. Double check the budget table. Make sure it's total everything like a $50,000, or I mean that it just matches your itemized budget goes to the total. Submit all the required documents. Use the application template only, not other application. You will not be reviewed. And please do not wait to the last minute. The deadline is March 3rd, but submit those applications as soon as you can.
Once again, let me pull up our that email slide so you can see our emails. Yes, so those are our emails right there. There's Yukashi, Anissa, and myself. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and email that. But remember, when you submit the RFP, it's for the you have to submit it to the RFP email, which is that one right there, hdoa.addrfp@hawaii.gov. All right. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for attending today.